I've been reading the notes of Underground by Theodore Dostoyevsky, and I've almost finished it. Essentially, that whole book is about when the kind of message in that book is when you have something inside yourself that wants to be expressed, but you don't express it, what happens is that it possesses you. And it essentially comes from, well, I notice it a lot in other authors. So I think Freud used it in a different context, this idea. And he said the less sexual you are as an integrated personality, the more sexuality will manifest itself as a pathologized fantasy. And I think Freud means here that if I ignore my sexual desires, they don't go away. In fact, they kind of scream louder to get my attention. So they get more intense, and I think that's how kind of fetishes and stuff start. But Dostoevsky uses this in a context of his life. And so the notes from Underground is it's not like an autobiography, but he uses a lot from his own life. And Dostoevsky was a lonely guy. He was the type of guy that there was one scene where he saw this guy that he used to go to school with years ago, and he essentially begged him to meet him and his friends at this dinner party, where he doesn't even like the other people. And so he kind of self-invites himself, and it doesn't go well. It's incredibly awkward. And you just hear Dostoevsky's inner dialogue of how he hates himself and things like that, because he just doesn't have any connection in his life. And so for him, it's loneliness. That's the thing that's trying to be overcome, and his connection that is desired to be expressed. But he sees himself as a victim. And the thing is, if you're a victim, you're in a weird comfort zone, because blaming the world is comfortable. You outsource that pain. And Nietzsche had a really, really good way of thinking about victim mentality. He said in praise there's more obtrusiveness than in blame, because who you blame has the power, but to praise is to say that I'm in a position to validate you. So to praise is to make yourself superior, and to blame inferior. And that inferior person who's blaming everyone doesn't really have any problems, and they're not confronting it. It's comfortable. And he keeps using this phrase in Dostoevsky of the mouse, and he uses the mouse as a metaphor of the mouse wants to be a ball that sort of charges at a wall, but instead he turns away, and he never collides with it. He never confronts it. So the ball would maybe hit the wall, and he'd be like, okay, that's reality. That's what it takes to confront it. That's the limit. But because the answer's what it's in is the answer's rooted in the story that they've told themselves. But if you never take action on what you tell themselves, then what you tell yourself always stays the same. It's like and I think this is relevant because some people might be listening and they might feel like they're fortunate that they have nothing inside themselves that feel expressed. But I think that's quite rare, and I think people generally have a lot that wants to be expressed, they just might not know it. So if you were to say you got bullied as a 10-year-old, often that's the problem, and so that problem needs to have a solution, and the solution is to stand up for yourself. But if you don't stand up, then you start to feel suppressed and judged, and that's long term. It's not going to make you want to take any kind of leadership or position of kind of authority, and you're going to be indecisive. And I think that's where things start, is problems that happened in childhood or whenever. And there's this pretty haunting like line where Dostoyevsky says, in the next 40 years, you remember your injury down to the smallest, most ignominious detail, and the hell of unsatisfied desires will turn inward. So the only thing you have the courage to do is take revenge on your unsatisfied desires in small ways. And the best way to think about that is, the hater on Instagram that's just hating on our shit for no reason because he just never had the confidence to put himself out there. And so for him, he takes little revenge in small ways to make him feel better for the next sort of 2 minutes. But I like what Dostoevsky writes because it's massively applicable in this day. I think most men live quiet lives of desperation. I think there's a huge percentage of men that are invisible, and by invisible I kind of mean you're not someone of importance, you're not doing anything of importance.
Low agency as well, like you don't feel your life is under your own control.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's this story that you probably know about of how the young men are struggling. I mean, the people that I'm in sales and the people that are the darkest, when I'm selling to someone that's in their mid-20s that's still living with their parents, that doesn't really have any meaning, and he wants an adventure, but his actions are not very expansive. And I mean, if you've ever been on campus and you just see someone that just looks invisible, like there's
and you see it in people's body language, right? They might be hunched over and like looking at the floor and like not making eye contact with anyone, and that's a physical bodily manifestation of anxiety and low self-worth, right? And it's not that person's fault, but it is almost like they're giving a signal of like, I am invisible, don't look at me, I don't want you to look at me, I want to be invisible. And I really feel for that person, because when I see that, I know that they're almost trapped in their own brain. It's like when that video of Peterson that went viral about his like thoughts on social anxiety, where people do that, they kind of hunch up and look at the floor, and he says you just look at somebody, make yourself present, because when you look into somebody's eyes, you realize that everyone is as fragile and as scared and as vulnerable as you. But we can get so like caught in these thought patterns that do make you want to be invisible, because you're so stuck in your like psychic like rumination.
I think that eye contact's a very good point there. You can tell how socially confident someone is by their eye contact, to be fair.
Well, it's one of those where when you look somebody in the eye, you really see them, and they really see you. It's like I don't know, if you look at just what's around them, or you just look at their body or whatever, it's just not the same as when you lock eye contact. And they say, don't they, the eyes are the window to the soul. You really see that person, and it's almost like you really notice that they're there and they notice you're there, and that's scary. It's scary.
Because the less eye contact, the kind of more distant you are.
Yeah, it's more exposing.
Yeah. There was a guy at the gym the other day who was exactly who Dostoyevsky was talking about. He was waiting for the lap pull down, and he was just very distant, a very weird vibe around him. And I think he was very clingy to this one friend that he had. And my friend kind of knew him, and then we were kind of trying to like find a solution, because I mean, what do you do with someone that you kind of know, and he's very aimless, he's very distant, and he's craving connection. So I said to my friend, well, it's your responsibility, you kind of know him, you should help him. But we kind of didn't really figure out how to deal with that. Like, do you just go up to him and be like, you good? Like, what's wrong? But I think there's a lot of, because I say the uni example because there's a lot of people in university who are sold the dream, but there's a lot of people who don't have that dream. And if you look around on campus, there are invisible people. So I do have a solution, but I'll pause there in case you had any other thoughts.
Yeah, so I paraphrased the quote that you said, and I have another point that came to my mind. The quote that you said was something like, if you don't take action on what you tell yourself never changes. Right? I really like that. Because sometimes we have a drive to do something, a drive to find out about something. And as much as it's scary, once you act on it, it's then like out of you and into the world to decide what the outcome is, right? If you don't, let's say, go for that job or that opportunity or open that door, you won't know whether the door closes on you or not. So the door is closed by default because you're not even trying to open it. Or like, you know, if you like a girl and you want to ask her out or whatever, you're going to keep telling yourself you like her and that you want to ask her out in a constant cycle of rumination. But once you just take the risk and risk rejection and go and do it, right, it might go well, it might go badly, but without doing it, it's automatically going badly. And what you tell yourself will not change because you haven't tested it in the world. And these things that may go bad but could go good, if they do go good, that could change the whole trajectory of your life. So I just like that little thing you said there.